I get this question too of, well, you were a stay-at-home mom and all this stuff, like that's what you should go back to doing or something like that. I'm honoring what the Lord has put in front of me, and I'm also honoring my husband's request. And now I have to be the sole provider for my children.
You're doing well, right? Okay. I think you should sue him, but I told her, you ought to sue somebody. They're so jealous of Erica.
Huge new evidence just dropped in the Charlie Kirk case, and once again it raises some deeply unsettling questions. A new filing from Tyler Robinson's defense team reveals that police were already reading him his Miranda rights by 6:25 p.m., which means he was already in custody. And if that's true, how is he still using his phone? Because according to a screenshot from Discord, at 8:57 p.m., someone used his account to basically confess to the crime.
Well, this is interesting. Utah police records show that Tyler Robinson was already in custody when he wrote the confession text messages on Discord. The official narrative is that Tyler Robinson turned himself in just before 9 p.m. on September 11th, the exact same time that he confessed on Discord. Now, Baron Coleman's investigation has revealed that court documents show that Tyler Robinson was read his Miranda rights at 6:25 p.m. by Sheriff Nate Brooksby. The sheriff that resigned last week. Now, it'd be great to verify this timeline by checking the surveillance footage of Tyler Robinson turning himself in to Washington County Sheriff's Office. Remember that Washington County Jail deleted the footage because it lapsed their 30-day retention period. How convenient. And remember, on September 12th, Discord came out against the official narrative, saying that their investigation showed that Tyler Robinson did not plan the murder on Discord or hide any evidence. And then they removed his account, which is fishy. The question now is, if Tyler Robinson was already in custody, who wrote this Discord message?
So now the obvious question is, how the hell did that happen? Some people say the dates are mixed up. They also point out that he was officially booked hours after he first surrendered.
Well, Jamie, we know that Washington County Sheriff Nate Brooksby received a call at 8:02 on Thursday evening from a friend who's also a retired detective from the Washington County Sheriff's Office. He was then driven to the sheriff's office by that retired detective. Him and his parents came together. He was held here for 2.5 hours before he was brought to Utah County around 2 a.m.
And Liv, why wasn't he booked into the Washington County Jail?
The sheriff said that they did have internal discussions about this and if Robinson would be held overnight here in Washington County, but because of the circumstances, it was decided that he would go directly to Utah County. The sheriff said that they are not a lead agency on this investigation, that they are just assisting. And so when he got that call that the suspect was here in Washington County, he called to Utah County, told them to start sending people down here. And in the meantime, while they waited for that 2.5 hours, they didn't question or really interact with Robinson at all.
But here's the bigger question. Why wasn't he booked immediately? Why keep him in custody without arresting him? And while we're talking timelines, why did they keep pushing the 33-hour timeline if they knew it didn't add up?
In less than 36 hours, 33 to be precise, in 33 hours, we have made historic progress for Charlie.
I think the process went pretty well, considering we got him in 33 hours.
Yeah. We apprehended our suspect in 33 hours because we were transparent and open with the American public, and we're going to continue to do that.
For 33 hours, I was praying that if this had to happen here, that it wouldn't be one of us. That somebody drove from another state, somebody came from another country. Sadly, that prayer was not answered the way I hoped for.
This video is sponsored by Kalshi, the platform that lets you trade on world events instead of just talking about them. Right now, the next Fed decision market on Kalshi is trading at 45 cents, meaning traders think there's a 45% chance rates go up. Trade that contract at 45 cents, and if it happens, you get $1 per contract. $100 at 45 cents becomes about $222 $2 if you're right. Kalshi is the largest legal prediction market in the US, and it's available in all 50 states. These are real money markets. No house, no sports book, just people trading on what they think will happen, the same way they'd trade stocks. Over 1 million users, more than $2 billion traded, and Kalshi even pays interest on long-term positions. If you think you can call what's next, from the Fed to the election to world events, go to kalshi.com/hustle. You'll get $20 when you trade $20. Kalshi. Power to the predictors, not the experts. Of course, this case will only get messier as more evidence comes out. In the meantime, people have been digging through Erika Kirk's old interviews, and some of it is raising eyebrows. Critics are pointing to a foreign trip she allegedly took to look for a husband just months before meeting Charlie.
And so I went to the office opening, and he was like, "You need to meet the CEO," and I was like, okay, great. I don't know. I was not familiar with that world at all. But the interesting point is that year, that was in August. In May, I had taken a pilgrimage with my mom to Israel. And my whole intention of that trip was to find my future husband. Then I went to go to the ticket line to leave. I was with my mom. There's only a few flights out at the night in Israel back to the States. And so I was standing there at the ticket line, and there was a guy who was checking out with the guy, you know what I'm talking about, get your ticket, check your bag. And I see him, and I was like, I tell my mom, I was like, that guy looks really familiar. And my mom was like, go say hi. Those of you who know my mom, like, that's something go say hi and say hi to him. I'm like, oh my gosh, no, I don't know. I just looks familiar. And so anyways, fast forward from May to August, I'm standing in the office, and our family friend was like, you need to meet the owner, blah, blah, blah. And he turns around and was like, oh, hi. You're the guy from the ticket line?
They're also comparing what she used to say about parenting while Charlie was alive, and how her tone has completely changed now that he's gone.
You can have a career after children, but if you try to have a career while you have your kids, there is no such thing as balance. That is such a myth. So, you have to choose where your heart has to be fully with the home. You have to make that decision on your own, but you can always, after your kids are in school or after they're in high school, you can always go back to work. You can always find a way to get back into the workforce. But if you miss those precious first few years, that is so hard to make up, because memories are so much more important than an added paycheck. I get this question too of, well, you were a stay-at-home mom and all this stuff, that's what you should go back to doing, or something like that. Unfortunately, I did not see my life being like this. I didn't. So when people are like, oh, she's now this role, I'm honoring what the Lord has put in front of me, and I'm also honoring my husband's request. And now I have to be the sole provider for my children. And again, this is not a business card opportunity. There's something very biblical and a woman honoring her husband and stepping up and standing in.
Not gonna lie, the shift is hard to ignore. Of course, Erika has now come out and said none of this gets under her skin.
No, totally. There'll be people that are like, did you see what they're saying about you on X? And I'm like, no, I don't have time. I don't have time. And actually, quite frankly, I really do not care. I am actually really busy right now playing Magna Tiles, and that is way more important.
Changing diapers.
Yes, than hearing the endless onslaught that really is just noise.
But people around her clearly don't like the attacks. In fact, even the president told her to just sue anyone who's jealous of her.
A thing called Happy Easter. Do we have that? Everyone happy? Anybody that doesn't want, hello, darling. Wow, this is a good table. I like that table. You're doing well, right? Okay. I think you should sue them, but, I told her, you ought to sue somebody. They're so jealous of Erika. I said, you ought to sue their... I can say it, you're not allowed to say this, you have to be nicer. Sue their ass off.
Now, moving on from that, let's talk about NASA. because their mission somehow just keeps getting weirder. A NASA employee recently went viral over a tattoo scene while preparing the Artemis crew, and people immediately started speculating. But now something even stranger happened. The astronauts were asked a question about the stars. But while they were speaking, something happened, and it was noticed by keen observers.
I wonder, do you still see stars in outer space?
Yeah, I was actually just talking to my crewmates about that today. I've definitely seen stars in outer space, and I was saying I haven't seen as many as I thought I would. So, Reed?
We have so much illumination from the sun on the moon and the earth right now. It is hard at times to see stars. Just like when you walk out in the daytime, you see a blue sky but no stars. We look outside and we see the black space and no stars. But tonight we're going to be pointed into deep space, and we're going to turn out all the lights in the spacecraft for the first time on the mission. And if you give yourself about 20 or 30 minutes, we do this all the time on the International Space Station. Christina and I just have great fond memories of this. You'll start to see the stars, and if you give it enough time, you will see so many stars. It's hard to see the constellations because there are so many stars out there. And the coolest part of those stars is they do not twinkle at all. They are just perfect. They almost look fake. They're just perfect pinpricks of light. So that is our homework for tonight, Jeremy. We are doing that.
We'll take a picture.
Did you catch that? Let's play that part again.
Stars out there. And the coolest part of those stars is they do not twinkle at all. They are just perfect. They almost look fake. They're just perfect pinpricks of light. So that is our homework for tonight, Jeremy. We are doing that.
We'll take a picture.
Right as he appears to say the word fake, the audio glitches, just for a split second. And now people are asking, was that word intentionally muted? Something NASA filtered it to avoid fueling in new conspiracy theories. But if that's true, how can people trust anything they're being shown? And speaking of trusting what they're putting out, a picture they posted from this mission was apparently taken all the way back in 2008. Now, while certain words are getting filtered in this transmission, somehow product shoutouts are getting through just fine. Jessica Alba has gone completely viral after an astronaut requested her brand's lotion from space. Not tools, not equipment, lotion. Specifically, Honest brand, described as a community hygiene item. Not found on board, not listed in the supply plan.
Confirm, we're ready. Yes, this one might take some digging. I'm looking for a specific community hygiene item that is Honest lotion. So it's just hand lotion, and I believe the brand is Honest. I thought we had some on board, but we just haven't come across it yet, and I don't think our packing plan has that level of granularity. Thanks for tracking it down.
What? That is wild. To think that I had this idea of wanting people just to have safer, better products. And I was inspired by my kid, my daughter, Honor. And so I named it Honest because I was like, gosh, wouldn't it be amazing if a company was honest? And then now it's in space? What? That is wild. That's a trip. This is a true, a moment I never thought would be my real life. And so anyone out there who has any dreams of anything, just go after it because you never know. I mean, your products can be in space.
Meanwhile, experts are now talking about a bizarre threat to the mission.
The gases that come out when you pass gas are flammable. And so that is a major problem, right? And it's hard to make them go away. Yeah, you've got methane and you've got hydrogen. That's the Hindenburg, right? I mean, that would be a That'd be good. Actually, I'm not going to make a joke about that. But there are these gases that are a problem. And before people went to space, there was a lot of effort put into like figuring out how much people would, like what you could feed them so they wouldn't fart as much.
Right.
And people were super worried about it. And there are great Apollo radio recordings when people didn't know their microphones were on, where they talk about how much gas they're passing and how brutal it is being in that capsule together. So, I mean, these astronauts are testing what it's like to be in that space. There is an air scrubber, but how bad it smells, how much that's happening, we're going to find out. That's part of what they're testing about the about the Artemis spacecraft is how much does it stink like farts?
And when you remember this mission launched on April 1st, it's easy to see why some people think the whole thing just feels like a joke. Now, what's not a joke is this growing list of experts who are either dying or disappearing under shady circumstances. And the latest one on this list happens to work for NASA.
Is now reporting a 9th scientist with ties to NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab has been added to the growing list of researchers across the country who have died under mysterious circumstances or disappeared. Fox News senior national correspondent Kevin Kirk has the details. Hey, Kevin.
Afternoon to you, Will. Mike Hicks was a research scientist at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, or JPL, and apparently he died back in July of 2023 at the age of 59. But the cause of death was never made public, and no record of an autopsy being performed on him has ever been found. Now, on its face, that might not sound like such a big deal, but his is, as you point out, the 9th case of a person with ties to America's space and nuclear secrets who has died or mysteriously vanished in recent years, including retired Air Force General Bill McCaslin, who was reported missing by his wife more than a month ago. He'd been studying unidentified anomalous phenomena and potential non-human intelligence. Now, in common speak, that simply means aliens. And to be sure, the trend of unexplained deaths and disappearances is setting off alarm bells, both among national security experts and among lawmakers on Capitol Hill.